Councilmember Abdulgawad.
Here.
Councilmember Baker.
Present.
Councilmember Barber.
Present.
Councilmember Burke.
Present.
Councilmember Circo.
Present.
Councilmember Ingert.
Present.
Councilmember Holman.
Present.
Councilmember Mills.
Present.
Mayor Turnbow.
Present. We have a quorum. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have no presentations and awards this evening or personal appearances, so we'll move on to staff reports. Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Mr. Salisbury to make a report for Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn. The monthly report has been submitted. There's just a couple things I'd like to highlight. The curb replacement program is ongoing. They finished up Country Lane last month, and they're moving through the rest of the roads. They should be done in the next month or two with that. The Sendera development, they placed curb and gutter. They have the base asphalt down, so they're moving along with that one. And the Raymore Commerce Center South, which includes Dean Avenue and 195th Street, that should be on the next meeting for acceptance, so that one's coming to close. And our operations team finished all the striping around town, all the crosswalks, all of that. So we're moving along and preparing for winter at this point. That concludes my staff report.
All right, thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Salisbury? Hearing none, I'll turn it back over to Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Mr. Salisbury. I would ask Mr. Mustine to make a report for Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, sir. Mayor, members of the council. I've also submitted a written staff report, just a couple things to highlight. Want to thank our volunteers and our sponsors for our 2025 Rainbow Rugged, our mini mud run. We had a great crowd and great weather, and so we just had a good time out there, as that event always is, a fabulous time. So thanks for everybody for pitching in and helping with that. Tomorrow night, we begin the final stretch of our farmers market. We got one more month to go, and then the market's closed for the year, so we'll wrap up the month of September. Our fall sports we're doing coaches meetings and referee and umpire trainings, and practices are going, so within a few days, we are 100% going all out on our fall sports. We do continue to make progress on our trail system. Our new projects going on, Good Parkway right now, we're about halfway done. They're up. They started at Stonegate and worked their way north, so they're at the, I would say it's the little corner that wraps the creek, so we're doing some work on that and some extra riprap so we can extend that creek and make that a little safer there. And we'll just continue to build the trails and work through that project. And then finally, just a reminder to the council, we are having a ribbon cutting tomorrow night right behind Centerview to open up the Butterfly Gardens and the Boardwalk project. So at 6 o'clock right behind Centerview, we'll have some water, lemonade, some cookies and stuff there to tide you over till get you home. Don't plan on keeping you that long, but hope everybody can make it. And that concludes my staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Mustine. Any questions for Mr. Mustine this evening? All right.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you, sir.
Mustine. I would ask Ms. Harmon to make a report for Communications.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Just want to follow up, share some good things that happened in August. The Arts Commission received a second grant from the Missouri Arts Council to support our Station Stop Art Party, the children's art fair that was held at TB Hanna on the first Saturday of August. It was $750 to cover our interactive entertainment for the children. So that was really exciting to get a second grant in just a few months from the Missouri Arts Council. We had our August concert. Our September concert coming up, hosted by the Raymore Arts Commission, is the Women of Rock. So this will be Friday, September 12th, 7 to 9 p.m. at the Hawkridge Park Amphitheater. It's always free. Bring your own drinks and picnic blanket or chair and snacks, and should be a nice evening of entertainment with the biggest hits from the gals from the 70s and 80s. And coming up, we have the registration for the 2025 Civic Leadership Academy. It's open now, it's half full, and this is just a 5-week program that our residents can learn a lot more about the inner workings of their city government and the programs and services we offer to the community. So it's free, You just have to go to raymore.com/CLA to register, and we have 10 spots left. It'll be capped at 20 people. Other than that, just want to mention one more time, I know I mentioned it last month, if you can make a mean chili or grill some nice wings or good salsa, please consider entering our first Raymore Chili Cook-Off. That will be October 11th at TB Hanna Station. And that's all I have for you this evening. Besides, I did have a report in your packet that shared some stats on the different ways that we communicate with our residents. Doesn't make a lot of sense for me to rattle those off up here verbally, but I wanted to show you some of the stats for those things. So hope that you got a chance to check that out. And that concludes my report now.
Thank you, Melissa. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Harmer? Okay, thank you. Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Ms. Harmer. Reminder that next week is Labor Day, so there will be no meeting. The next work session of the council will be on September 15th. Two topics for that particular meeting. Obviously, budget will be on for discussion, and Mr. Salisbury and hopefully MoDOT will be making a comprehensive report on what the council can expect for the I-49 widening and the 58 interchange improvements. There'll be significant impacts on the city from both of those. We'll have some diagrams for you all to take a look at and be giving you a progress report there. That concludes staff report, sir.
Mr. Fearborn, with regard to that topic, is there a meeting with the public, between MoDOT and the public on that particular project?
There is, I believe it is scheduled for October.
Okay.
And the public information officers for Belton and here, Ms. Harmer, have been invited to a pre-meeting ahead of that so that we can begin to get the communication out
Okay.
about all the disruptions that are going to be caused by this.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Progress is painful, sir.
It can be, as we're feeling it right now from around the area. Any questions for Mr. Fearborn this evening? Yes, Mr. Circo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, that's going to be October 2nd at Mill Creek Elementary School, 4:30 to 6:30. Sir.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. Moving right along then. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. We have the one item, the minutes of the August 11th meeting minutes on there. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Abdelgawad.
I move that we approve the consent agenda, including item A, City Council meeting minutes from August 11th, 2025.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Yes, sir. I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Mills?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We'll now move on to unfinished business. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3982 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3982 by title only, an ordinance pursuant to Section 67.110 of the revised statutes of Missouri levying general and special taxes in the city of Raymore, Missouri for the year 2025.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any additional questions of staff on this item? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of the second reading of Bill 3982.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Abdelgawad.
I move that we approve Bill 3982, setting the 2025 tax levy.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir. I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3982. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, I'd ask for the roll call, please.
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Mills?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3981 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3981 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri approving the 37th Amendment to the Unified Development Code, repealing and replacing Chapter 435 to establish signage regulations for the city that promote constitutional free speech protections.
As we had a public hearing on this 2 weeks ago, there were some questions from the public as well as from the council at that particular meeting. There are also some additional questions that came from Mr. Baker just today. The staff is prepared to give a report on that, so I'll turn it over to Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would call on Mr. Gress to begin.
Thank you, sir. Mayor, members of the council, as you know, we had a public hearing on this item at the August 11th meeting. There are a couple things that we added to the packet between last 2 weeks ago and this evening's meeting. The first one would be, as the council directed staff, we did make a revision to the proposed code language to strike home occupation signage from the list of prohibited signage. So in your packet, you'll see that has been struck through in the revised edition of the code. The second two items were items that were added to the packet as new. The first one would be during the council comments or review of the item, it was asked about a red line copy of the sign code and how we could better elaborate on some of the changes that were being proposed compared to things that were just being carried over from the current code. So within the packet for tonight, staff did provide kind of section by section an explanation of code language or code sections that were added into the code as new language and clarifications on items that were just maybe moved into a different section, but from the existing code that we have in place. And so within that, you'll find all 31 pages have some sort of markups in there, whether it was items that were brought into the code in terms of definitions for clarity, which added some of the length into the code. There was a couple revisions to the format in terms of the tables within the code. Each of those things added some length into the exhibit overall. I'm happy to go over any specific questions over those red line comments that staff provided if necessary. The second item was, during the public hearing, there was some discussion between questions that residents had and questions from the council. So looking at some of the notes that staff was able to take in addition to reviewing the meeting over again, staff provided kind of a question response format of the discussion. So if there are any follow-up questions to that, we're happy to answer it as well. I did have a chance to share this with one of the residents who actually contacted me after the meeting. So I had her email address to send that, and so we can share that to the public as well as in the packet for the council's viewing as well. Lastly, here just before the meeting, there was an additional question that staff received as a follow-up to the email that Councilmember Baker had sent out. So I just wanted to provide some additional context to that as it relates to temporary signage overall. There was a question in the email string here this morning about real estate signage or advertising signage at the venue down off North Cass in Dean. So I wanted to point out in that section, as I kind of elaborated, the current code as it relates to real estate signage does have regulations within it that permit when and where and how long or for what duration real estate signage can be up. Under the current code, as long as there are units being leased within a property, those signs are allowed to be up and out. They do not require a permit. They are allowed one per street frontage. And as the council knows, there are several different street frontages within that development. And so there are a few signs out on that property that are allowed under the current code. Under the proposed code language, one of the things I wanted to point out is that the regulations on real estate signage is one of the content-based regulations that we have removed because it does relate to specifically what that sign is saying, and it gives a very lengthy time frame for those signs to be out. So under the proposed code language in chapter 435, I just wanted to note that that issue is one of the items that we're proposing to clean up in the code. Regardless of what the sign says, it can be out for 30 days at a time. Those particular signs now would have to have a permit, and so after that 30-day time period lapses, the owner of that property would have to come back to the city after the time has lapsed to apply for a new permit for 30 more days. And under the code right now, and under the proposed code, you're only limited for 30-day periods at a time. So just wanted to follow up to that since I hadn't had a chance to include that in my initial write-up to Mr. Fearborn as we were looking at those questions this morning. Again, if there are any questions on any of those, staff's happy to answer those.
Staff at this time. Mr. Baker.
I guess we'll start with that one. As far as the street frontage, and I had kicked an email, Ms. Fearborn, kind of the last minute coming in, that we know the venue, basically Dean Avenue and Hubach Hill, and then there's an entrance road. I know that if it counts interior or if it counts the side ones, are they allowed one sign per street front? Or if they've got, say, three street fronts, or say 4 with Dean Avenue, could they put all 4 signs in one sector?
So When a sign permit is applied for, the interesting thing or the unique thing about that project is that there are multiple lots within that development that have groupings of townhomes on them. There's a couple along Dean Avenue, there's a couple along Hubach Hill Road, and then obviously internal to the development. So under the table where it says one per frontage, that is also per lot that the sign is located on. So it's not that they can take the signs that would be permitted on the internal streets and apply those to the external streets or the Dean Avenue and Hubach Hill. But within that specific development, there are multiple signs, but that's because there are multiple lots within that development. So each lot is permitted one sign per street frontage. So hopefully that clarifies your question, but that's something you can't really see just looking at the development without the parcel map.
And then you said the time frame 30 days, and then they could reapply. Could they just continually reapply every 30 days and perpetually have that sign out there?
So the code does outline, and it's our current practice right now as well, 10 days the sign has to come down for a period of 10 days before we can issue a new sign permit. And then again, you're only limited to 4 of those 30-day periods at a time throughout the year. So after that, you pass your 4th one, we don't issue a new one until the calendar year starts over.
And then per that question, I guess the depot would be in the same category with that.
The depot does only have one street frontage because Dean Avenue is the only public street within that. So they have a monument sign out front, which is permanent, and then they do have the leasing sign out there to the northern property line of their building. And the same would apply there as well under the time frame.
Anything? Mr. Circo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for clarification, we talked before last week. Basically, these blow-up signs, these different signs in residential, it's not commercial. We talk, 'cause most of my people will get a hold of me lately are saying, hey, if we want to put the happy birthdays, load up for Halloween, and Christmas is 3 times greater, and they put these blow-ups and all that stuff in their yards. They were starting to try to figure out, well, we have a problem as residential, or can we just put up what we want in our yard as long as they're legal? Is that what I understand? Is that okay?
That would be that is correct, sir, yes.
So that's, I think, the biggest problem I have with mine. I want to make sure they could have a good time, fill up their yards, and not have it knock on the door and say, hey, you got 3 signs or blow-ups you need to take down. That was their big concern. Thank you very much.
There's a clear distinction between a holiday sign is going to be considered a decoration, not a sign.
Okay. That's what I wanted to, because I said something that said blow-ups go to 470.240, and I could never find it. So I looked everywhere for that UDC. That's why I'm asking. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Baker?
So I guess to kind of clarify on the inflatable sign, if someone were to put out a Kansas Jayhawk sign, in theory, and say my neighbor loved the Missouri Tigers, and he called the city and said, I find that Jayhawk sign offensive in my cul-de-sac, the city could do nothing with that though, right? Because that sign would be permitted.
That's correct, sir.
Okay. And I think that needs to be, as I was going through it and doing research on that, making it as clear. I mean, there is people out there that probably wonder when they hear this and they hear us talking about it with the 20-foot inflatable Santas that you see in Menards you can buy and things like that. Is there technically a limit in residential if someone were to, I know that there is a balloon in Branson of a presidential person that's 25 feet high. Is there ever a point in which we would consider saying that's probably too much, or could we?
So there is, and we won't talk about Jayhawk versus Tiger here at all. There is throughout the code, when we take a look at it, we apply what is commonly called downstairs when we're looking at the code, because we look at the code as a whole. For our police officers, it is considered, and there's case law out there, relative to reasonable officer standards. The same thing applies upstairs and with all the rest of our departments. It is a reasonable adult standard. And it comes down to, and there are places where it's actually expounded on in the code. You see it within the sign code, that the director has the discretion to take a look at each portion of the code and apply the reasonable adult standard to that section on what is up and what is the interpretation of the code. Every single day, our officers downstairs that are post-certified have to make a discretionary call on a stop. On any kind of a call that they go out on, we are trusting our officers to apply the reasonable officer standard to whatever they're facing. The same thing applies to every section of the code. When we're looking at potholes, when we're looking at anything that's development service standard, we have to apply that particular standard to it and trust that our professional staff are going to, one, know the reasonable interpretation of that code. Is it a decoration or is it a sign? And also, when things reach a point, because the code is constantly evolving, it's a living thing, when it reaches the point where you have an inflatable that's being put out that is as big as a house, is it time to come back to the council and go, hey, maybe we need to revisit this particular section? It's being not abused, but it's being interpreted most liberally, we'll put it that way. And yes, staff would apply that standard, staff would come to the council, staff would ask for council feedback on what you wanted to see on that at any given time. To that end, and applying some case law, I'm going to ask Mr. Zur, because I did ask him to look into case law that delineates between what is a decoration, what is an ornament, what is a sign, because there are differences. So he's going to talk about the case of Scabby the rat. Mr. Zur.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn. So when asked to evaluate this and kind of do some overview, first and foremost, I want to make a distinction of what the industry identifies. So I did have the chance to go in. There's clear industry distinction for these inflatable signs, decorations. There is a distinction made by their materials, which are, here's an inflatable sign versus here's inflatable decorations, even in their advertising materials. Adding to that, the case law on it, one case in particular, Construction and General Laborers Union versus Town of Grand Chute, which was a 2019 case, talks in terms of Scabby the rat, which was utilized by Union in that location as part of their picketing of a construction project that was going on across the street. City imposed their sign restrictions on it. Union sued, indicating that that was their right to be able to do so, an infringement upon free speech, by forcing them to take it down. The sign code that was being evaluated in this particular case was related to whether or not it could be prohibited in public right-of-way. We believe it can fully be prohibited within public right-of-way. All of these can, as long as you've got an alternative location for where that could occur. And you impose that strict scrutiny for evaluation. Within the terms of the case, however, it goes into making a distinction there with well, would it make a difference under the interpretation of this sign code if Scabby the rat had a Santa hat on, and would that alter it to a decor as opposed to other? In the case review, that was part of the dicta. It was not necessarily part of the actual evaluation, but the court at least identified it and then made the determination. It's not before us to make that determination on this particular fact scenario. We'd be interested to know what it is in the future. I haven't found anything that follows back up with that, with further Scabby making that distinction, but it does appear clear that the court's at least willing to identify a distinction between what is an inflatable sign versus what is an inflatable decoration.
Interestingly enough, deeper review of the case, the court did express the difficulty that code enforcement has to go through in making these very, very difficult determinations, basically in a moment's notice, if you will, and that it is a very discretionary issue on the part of code enforcement, and it comes down to the council has professional staff. Trust your professional staff.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Baker.
Okay, still, and this is, again, I appreciate the info that you sent out in the packet. Just a clarification on the one, it's on page 140, but it said Baker also claimed that they would need to place the flags 10 to 11 feet into the yard. The new code would only require them to be placed 5 foot from all property lines, including separation requirements. My basis of 10 to 11 feet into the yard was that is the right-of-way, correct? So they would have to be 10 to 11 feet away from the curb, or is that something else?
So that was just, in general, the right-of-way line is on the back of the, 1 foot or right on the back of the curb. That isn't always explicitly 10 to 11 feet. But in general, I mean, that's just what staff heard in that meeting. To be placed out of the right-of-way, though, that was the requirement, and I can't find it in the section of code, but off of the property line is generally where staff is going with that placement requirement, to avoid the interpretation of it still being in the right-of-way, only because that right-of-way line is not consistent across the city. In some places, you have larger sidewalks, you have trails, though in a neighborhood, it's a little more consistent than throughout the city. But like I said, that was just our understanding of your comment in that moment. I don't know if that answers your question or...
It's very arbitrary. I mean, I know you can go on ArcGIS mapping, and I'm very skilled in that, and even maps taken from satellites are only good to a few feet, so you always have that. But in general, like, I don't have a sidewalk, so, I don't have the opportunity to go inside the sidewalk and potentially be safe. I just, how that is. But we'll leave it at that. The last question I had was in regard to the questions today that you answered to, and again, appreciate that. It was really the first part about what I call these celebration signs, that when we had the discussion up here 2 weeks ago about the home-based business signs and the 6 square foot, and several members said that would be too big. If a neighbor had a sign 6 square feet, they would not want that in their neighbor's yard promoting their business. But many of these signs, and there is a resident in Ward 1 that has this business, these signs, all at a minimum, are probably 10 feet wide, 6 feet high, consist of multiple signs that are brought together to make one big sign. And I just wanted to get some clarification, because in here it said these are temporary signs that would be allowed. But if this is a 10-foot wide sign made up of several smaller signs in a decorative fashion to celebrate something, either a birthday, a soldier coming home, and all that, is there an exception to that, or would those be not allowed due to the sheer size of them?
So to clarify, and I'm going to find the table here really quickly. So the interpretation that staff made based on your question of the birthday signs is, you can have up to 4 signs on a property, temporary yard signs. The code also allows all those signs to be put together to constitute one sign as well at a larger size. That size, however, is limited under the code right now to 12 square feet. And so it's those types of signs that you shared would be allowed as long as they met the size requirements of the code. The challenge in trying to address that particular sign or sign type is that if we can do that, but we would have to apply the same size restrictions to any sign in a neighborhood. And so staff, took the discretion of sticking more in line with what our code says right now with the size restrictions, as opposed to going on the opposite end and making those larger. But that was kind of the clarification in staff's response, was that specific type of sign, you can combine multiple yard signs into one large sign, but that would have to comply with the size requirements as they're written in the code right now.
And obviously, I mean, the pictures I sent, I mean, they were all, I think the standard size is at least 10 foot wide, and they're all going to be a minimum of 4 to 6 foot tall, so you're talking 60 square foot. I think we need to memorialize that as we go and talk about this legislation, that people need to know what they're getting into, because those are very popular signs, and that is one of those things now that is a popular trend that we are going to put the brakes on. And people need to realize that it's one of those things that this person does many cities, so one city not allowing it's not going to hurt their business potentially that bad, but I do think that's something that's going to be unfortunate due to this code. So thank you.
Okay, any additional questions before we move on? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Dugawad.
I move that we approve Bill 3981, the 37th Amendment to the Unified Development Code, Chapter 435, Signage.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir. I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3981. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
No.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Mills?
No.
Motion carries 6 yes, 2 noes. We'll now move on to new business. Can I please have the reading of Resolution 25-42 by title only?
The reading of Resolution 2542 by title only, a resolution of the City of Raymore, Missouri, amending the schedule of fees.
Thank you. This requires a public hearing, so I'll open the public hearing at this time and ask for a staff report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Ms. Williams to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Before you this evening is a resolution amending the schedule of fees for our fiscal year 2026. Moving in the order of our schedule of fees, Development Services is proposing an update to its zoning and development fee structure to better reflect actual staff time and resources required to process and renew applications. The License Tax Review Committee met in July and is recommending increasing the excise tax per trip by the rate of the construction cost index as of June 2025. That rate is 2.4%. The water and sewer section includes increases to the tap fees, also related to the construction cost index of 2.4%, as well as adjustments to the meter supply fee that reflect the city's cost to purchase the equipment. Staff met with council at a work session on July 21st regarding the cost of service water and sewer rate model. The adjustments to the water and sewer rates are before you in the schedule of fees. The Parks and Recreation section includes rental fees associated with the new pickleball courts and adjustments to and additions to the fees for usage of the rack with the completion of the expansion. The Parks and Recreation fee adjustments were approved by the Park Board at their July 22nd meeting. That concludes staff report.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Anybody have any questions of Ms. Williams at this time? Thank you very much. There's no further questions. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item. Or, excuse me, there's a public hearing. It's open right now. If anyone in the public would care to address the council on this particular item, please step forward, state your name and address for the record. Try to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Seeing no one come forward, I will close the public hearing at this time, and I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Abdelgawad.
I move that we approve Resolution 25-42, amending the schedule of fees.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve Resolution 25-42. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Mills?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Thank you. Can I please have the first reading of Bill 3983 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3983 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing a plan for an industrial development project for Urban SR LLC Phase 2, approving the issuance of an additional $90 million of industrial development revenue bonds for the project and approving certain documents in connection therewith.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a staff report?
I would ask Ms. Lee to start the staff report on this particular agenda item, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The request before you this evening is the approval of increased bond capacity for Phase 2 for Urban, newly, industrial development project located at the Raymore Commerce Center. The initial development agreement was approved in February of 2023, which included the initial Phase 2. Newly has been growing very quickly and has seen a significant spike in subscribers, which has accelerated their investment in advanced and an expedited timeline. With the Phase 2 expansion, Newly will also take the remaining 400,000 square feet, giving them the whole 1 million square feet of Building 3. The ordinance before you would authorize an additional $90 million in industrial revenue bonds. Tonight we have Sarah Granath with Gilmore & Bell, as well as Dave Francais and John Moreno with Urban, and they are here to provide reports and answer questions as needed. So I would like to invite Ms. Granath.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. As Ms. Lee mentioned, she kind of gave a great overview, but I'll go a little bit more in depth on some of the particulars here tonight. So as she mentioned, in 2023, the city council at that time approved a Chapter 100 project and related bonds for the initial Newly development out at Raymore Commerce Center. And those bond documents and plan and performance agreement contemplated an expansion of Newly from the initial 600,000 square foot building space to the remaining 400,000 for a total of 1 million square feet. Now, this expansion was contemplated for 2028 in the plan, which would have provided the abatement to run out through 2038 at that time with that expansion. As Ms. Lee mentioned, Newly has been overperforming, and they're looking to expand on a quicker pace, and with that, also at a higher investment level. And so that's why we are here tonight. So that expansion again would start in 2025 instead of 2028. Newly is looking to add capacity for 2,000 more subscribers by expanding that footprint. And they currently have 950 employees, and they're looking to add 1,800 new jobs over the next 3 years with the expansion. To accomplish this, again, because it goes outside the bounds of that initial projection that we made in the original plan, the city and the developers worked to create a new Chapter 100 plan that allows the additional $90 million of capacity. This plan works in conjunction with the existing plan. It does not override, it supplements. That creates $205 million total bonding capacity. Now, if you'll remember from kind of our Chapter 100 101 session we had earlier this year, where I went in depth on all of the details of a Chapter 100 project, this $90 million of capacity is really the additional investment that the company is making into the community. The plan outlines the same abatement terms for this additional $90 million as exists for the existing abatement. That is approximately 93% for 10 years on the personal property. So that 93%, the 7% of pilots, payment in lieu of taxes that the company would pay on that additional $90 million would create about $117,000 in extra tax revenue for the taxing districts over those 10 years, above what was projected in the original plan. This Chapter 100 plan was mailed to taxing districts on August 4th to allow the statutory notice period, and taxing districts are invited to speak tonight should any of them appear. That's kind of a high level of what the plan is, and then to accomplish the plan, we have what's called an omnibus amendment of documents. And so instead of issuing a second bond, doing additional drafts of documents, all of those things, we're actually just supplementing or amending the bond documents that exist to kind of streamline the process for both the trustee on their upkeep and maintenance of the project, to also allow city staff an easier kind of accounting to see where the project is and everything like that. So the ordinance before you tonight approves the plan and cost benefit analysis, the omnibus amendments of those 2023 bond documents. It also shortens the timeline from 2038 as originally outlined, if that investment were going to occur in 2028, to now the last year will be 2035. So the equipment will come back on the tax rolls at a sooner date rather than running through 2038. The final portion of the ordinance approves an emergency services agreement with South Metropolitan Fire Protection District. And South Metro is agreeing to an extension of those same abatement terms that they agreed to in 2023. If you'll remember, special taxing districts that offer emergency services are able to essentially set their own reimbursement rate. South Metro has agreed to continue on the same abatement terms as all the other taxing districts. So that is also included in the documents. I will open it up to questions. I do want to apologize in advance, mainly to Ms. Hill, that she's going to have to read this ordinance in its entirety should you all approve moving on to an emergency second read, which I'm also happy to discuss.
And staff did approach the mayor about Newly's desire that this be done with an emergency read. Newly actually wrote the mayor one-on-one with it. They would like to begin purchasing the additional equipment associated with this to take advantage of both timeframes and cost considerations. They would like to begin those purchases prior to September 1, which is why it's in front of you as an emergency read.
Okay, thank you. Any questions at this time from anybody? Any of the presenters? Are there any taxing districts that wish to address the council here in the chamber this evening? Seeing none, is there anyone else that wishes to, from the project, anybody from Newly, wish to address the council?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, David France with the Stinson Law Firm representing Newly Urban. We are happy to answer any questions. We appreciate all the good work that your staff has provided. This has moved very quickly. As Sarah indicated, we had anticipated $105 million of investment through 2028, and now we're going to be over $200 million by middle of 2026. Plus, as she indicated, 1,800 new jobs projected over the next 3 years. Thank you. Appreciate your consideration of this. Would be happy to answer a question, and would ask that you consider the emergency nature of this, given the complexities of buying the type of equipment that we have and the timeframes for that.
Thank you, sir. All right. Any questions? Okay. Thank you, sir. Is staff complete with their report?
That concludes staff report, sir.
All right. I'd entertain a motion then to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Abdelgawad.
I move that we approve Bill 3983, Phase 2 Plan and Additional Bond Capacity for Urban SR LLC, Newly.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir. I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3983. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Mills?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously 8-0. And as since the emergent nature of this item has been stated, I am asking for an emergency reading, so I will ask for the second reading in Bill 3983 in its entirety.
The second reading of Bill 3983 in its entirety. An ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing a plan for an industrial development project for Urban SR LLC, Phase 2, approving the issuance of an additional $90 million of industrial development revenue bonds for the project, and approving certain documents in connection therewith. Whereas the City of Raymore, Missouri, constitutional charter city and political subdivision of the state of Missouri, the city, is authorized and empowered pursuant to the provisions of Article 6, Section 27, subsection B of the Missouri Constitution as amended, and Sections 100.010 through 100.200, inclusive of the revised statutes of Missouri as amended, RSMO, collectively the Act, to purchase, construct, extend, improve, and equip certain projects as defined in Section 100.010 RSMO and described in Article 6, Section 27, subsection B of the Missouri Constitution, and to issue revenue bonds for the purpose of providing funds to pay the cost of such projects, and to lease or otherwise dispose of such projects to private persons or corporations for manufacturing, commercial, research and development, warehousing, and industrial development purposes upon such terms and conditions as the city deems advisable. And whereas pursuant to the act, the City Council passed Ordinance 2023-014 on February 27, 2023, authorizing the city to issue its taxable industrial development revenue bonds, Newly Project, Series 2023, in the maximum principal amount of $115 million, the bonds, for the purpose of providing funds to 1, acquire, construct, and install certain machinery and equipment, the project equipment, and 2, improve the real property, the project improvements, with the project equipment and the project improvements being the project, located generally at 1300 Dean Avenue in the city, the project site. And whereas the city has leased and will continue to lease the project equipment to Urban SR LLC, a Pennsylvania limited liability company, the company, pursuant to an equipment lease agreement dated as of March 13, 2023, the lease between the city and the company. And whereas the company has elected to proceed with an expansion of operations into the remaining approximately 400,000 square feet of building space at the project site, and such expansion, the Phase 2, will require additional capacity of the bonds to complete the acquisition and installation of the project. And whereas the company and the city desire to authorize additional bond capacity in the amount of $90 million for a total maximum principal amount not to exceed $205 million. And whereas the city, in accordance with Section 100.050 of the Act, has prepared a plan for an industrial development project and cost-benefit analysis for Urban SRLLC Phase 2, the Phase 2 plan. And whereas notice of the Phase 2 plan was provided to the taxing jurisdiction in accordance with Section 100.059.1 of the Act, and the city now desires to approve the Phase 2 plan and the amendment of certain documents in connection therewith. And whereas the City Council has and does hereby find and determine that it is necessary and desirable that the city approve the Phase 2 plan and certain documents in connection therewith. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Raymore, Missouri as follows. Section 1, authorization of the Phase 2 plan. The City Council hereby finds that A, proper notice as required by the Act was given to all affected taxing jurisdictions regarding the Phase 2 plan, and B, it has fairly and duly considered any and all comments submitted to the City Council regarding the Phase 2 plan. The City Council hereby approves the Phase 2 plan. Section 2, approval and authorization of documents. In order to carry out the purposes of the Phase 2 plan in this ordinance, the omnibus amendment of documents, the amendment, and the pilot agreement, Emergency Services District, the Emergency Services Agreement, are hereby approved in substantially the form presented to the City Council at this meeting, copies of which documents shall be filed in the records of the city, and the city is hereby authorized to execute and deliver the amendment and the Emergency Services Agreement with such changes therein, and shall be approved by the officials of the city executing such documents, such officials' signatures thereon being conclusive evidence of their approval thereof. Section 3, approval of additional bond capacity. The city hereby authorizes the reissuance of the bonds with an increase in maximum aggregate principal amount not to exceed an additional $90 million for a total maximum aggregate principal amount not to exceed $205 million. Section 4, execution of documents. The mayor of the city is hereby authorized and directed to execute a replacement bond and to deliver such replacement bond to the trustee for authentication for and on behalf of and as the act and deed of the city in the manner provided in the indenture as defined in ordinance number 2023-014. The mayor or city manager of the city is hereby authorized and directed to execute the amendment, the emergency services agreement, and such other documents, certificates, and instruments as may be necessary or desirable to carry out and comply with the intent of this ordinance for and on behalf of and as the act and deed of the city, including all applicable sales and use tax exemptions, certificates for the purchase of construction materials, and, if approved by the state of Missouri, personal property. The city clerk of the city is hereby authorized and directed to attest to and affix the seal of the city to the bonds, the amendment, the emergency services agreement, and such other documents, certificates, and instruments as may be necessary or desirable to carry out and comply with the intent of this ordinance. Section 5, further authority. The mayor, city manager, city clerk, and other officials, agents, and employees of the city as required are hereby authorized and directed to take such further action and execute such other documents, certificates, and instruments as may be necessary or desirable to carry out and comply with the intent of this ordinance and to carry out, comply with, and perform the duties of the city with respect to the bonds and the amendment and the emergency services agreement. Section 6, effective date. The effective date of approval of this ordinance shall be coincidental with the mayor's signature and attestation by the city clerk. Section 7, emergency reading. In order to assure timely completion of this project, the mayor hereby authorizes the passage of this ordinance as an emergency. Section 8, severability. If any section, subsection, sentence, clause, phrase, or portion of this ordinance is for any reason held invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, such portions shall be deemed a separate, distinct, and independent provision, and such holdings shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions thereof. Duly read the first time this 25th day of August 2025. Be it remembered that the above ordinance was approved and adopted this 25th day of August 2025 by the following vote.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any further questions of staff? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the second reading of Bill 3983.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Abdelgawad.
I move that we approve the second emergency reading of Bill 3983, Phase 2 Plan and Additional Bond Capacity for Urban SR LLC, Newly.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3983. Any further discussion? Mr. Holman.
Ms. Hill, if the Kansas City Royals starting pitcher goes as long into the game tonight as you did with that, I think it looks good for a win.
Well, I just want to say congratulations to Newly on their subscription upward mobility on that, because we're exciting. We're very excited about Newly's success here. Your success means our success, and it is providing great jobs for the community as well as surrounding communities. And I see the cars going to work and leaving from work there. Folks are, and I'm hearing great stories back about working there and how people enjoy how they're treated there. It is a great partner for our community, and we're so happy that you guys have decided to expand so quickly on this. So thank you very much for that. And with that, I'd entertain a motion, I'd have the roll call. Ask for the roll call, please.
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Mills?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously 8-0. Thank you very much. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3984 by title only?
First reading of Bill 3984 by title only. An ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri approving the Cunningham at Creekmore Fifth Final Plat, lots 128 through 163, a subdivision of land located in the northeast quarter of Section 4, Township 46 North, Range 32 West, Raymore, Cass County, Missouri.
Thank you. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Mr. Gress to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, sir. Mayor and council, the item before you this evening is a planning application that was filed by Cooper Land Development. They're requesting final plat approval of the fifth plat, the Cunningham at Creekmore phase of their overall development. It's generally located in the northeast corner of the Creekmore development, just west of North Madison Street. Their request includes 36 new single-family lots that front Creekmore Lake. It is entirely surrounded by other phases of Creekmore or the lake there to the north. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this request on August 5th, and they did vote 8-0 to accept staff's proposed findings of fact, and forwarded the request to the City Council with a recommendation of approval, subject to the conditions that were presented by staff. Staff does recommend approval to the City Council, and I know the applicant and their engineer are here this evening if the council has any questions. That concludes staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Gruss. Any questions of staff at this time? If there are no further questions, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Abdelgawad.
I move that we approve Bill 3984, Cunningham at Creekmore Fifth Final Plat.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3984. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please? Oh, wait a minute. Discussion.
Sorry,
Ms. Abdelgawad.
just a quick note. I just wanted to shout out Cooper Land Development, another company that continues to stick with Raymore, grow in Raymore, and make this a better place for our citizens.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else? I would echo those comments, so thank you. Could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Mills?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously 8-0. Thank you. That concludes new business this evening. We'll now move on to public comments. If anyone from the public would care to address the council at this time, please step forward, state your name and address for the record, and try to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Seeing no one come forward, I'll go ahead and close the public comment section and move on to mayor council communication. And Mr. Burke, I'll start with you this evening, sir.
I don't have anything. I know that's amazing.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Holman.
Yes, sir. With your leave, as opposed to a comment, I'd like to ask a question of staff.
Sure.
Chief Wilson, is it true that the Raymore police officers respond to a number of disturbances over the year?
Yes, it's true.
And what is a disturbance, Chief?
What is a disturbance?
Yes, sir.
It's defined different manners. I mean, what type of disturbance? Verbal disturbance, physical disturbance?
My point exactly. Your officers respond to a number of disturbances over the year and over the years. And it's not specifically lined out in law because it cannot be. Am I correct?
Correct.
There are examples, but one disturbance is unlike the other. Yet we rely on the trained professionals and the experience of those professionals to make appropriate decisions out on the street, just as we do the rest of staff. Isn't that correct, sir?
That would be correct.
Just like our code enforcement officer.
Just like the code enforcement.
That's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ingert?
Very short, 1,800 jobs. Can we get a Buc-ee's? I think we really need one bad.
Thank you. Ms. Abdelgawad?
Thank you, sir. I just want to take a quick moment to recognize our city staff for the awesome work that they do every single day. I think we saw lots of different faces in front of us this evening and evidence of a lot of really great hard work that you guys are putting in every single day. So just a quick shout out to city staff.
Thank you. Mr. Barber?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to kind of dovetail on that because I probably should have said something when we had the Newly people in here, but we struck out on the first Urban Outfitter. We did not get that, but obviously they were impressed with something. I think they were impressed with our staff, the way Raymore is put together, and back to, again, the staff. And now they're impressed enough that now they're investing again. So I think that goes to, we made an impression, and they invested, and then now they're still investing. So I'm very impressed.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Circo?
Yeah, tag on that. Once you have corporate people come in, that expertise and caliber to come back and then want to actually expand, that opens the door for Raymore for the future on more corporate people, seeing what they're doing to follow in place. So that's a great thing to look forward in the future for what we're producing out there south of the city. And that's about it. And one more thing, if you put that big blow up, even though you're not my ward, I'll protest.
And Mr. Baker?
I will say the Jayhawk will be up Friday night. We are undefeated. And leading into that, Luke Grimm, he used to be a Ward 1 resident. He is playing for the Los Angeles Chargers NFL team. He returned a punt return for 66 yards about a week and a half ago. We'll find out tomorrow by 1 p.m. Pacific time whether or not he makes the final roster for the Los Angeles Chargers, which more than likely is probably the first Raymore resident ever to play professional football. So I think that's a good segue to the Jayhawk mascot that's always in my front yard on game day, football and basketball season. Secondly, Melissa, great job with the recap of the social media. I think that's a very innovative approach to showing what we do in that particular department, and anything we can do innovative in this city. I only see other cities looking at that going, why don't we have that in our packet or our development reports or whatever it may be. So excellent job with that. I think anytime we think outside the box and throw that together, it's a lot of information, but I'm a numbers guy, so I love reading that stuff and seeing where it goes, and I like social media. Lastly, thank you, Mr. Zur and staff, for the time I took up with you. This UDC was very important to me. It's something that was very, I guess, it's going to shape the way in which we operate as a city in sign code enforcement. And I do take those things seriously. To me, I like to do things right the first time, and I think it warranted good discussion. Like Councilman Mr. Mills said, I wish some of that we could have did more in a work session and had that in front of us more so as an entire document earlier. But I do appreciate your time and your answers and late night responses and everything else that we did. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mills?
The only thing I will add is to Councilmember Ingert, I'm doing research for you. As soon as this meeting's over, I'm about to eat a Buc-ee's barbecue brisket sandwich. So so I am working on that for you, sir.
Is that it? All right. Thank you. I want to echo what Ms. Abdelgawad said and Mr. Baker touched on, is the hard work that staff did on this particular item on our agenda this evening with regard to the sign code. I know that there was a lot of extra work and research that was done by everyone, including our legal representative, Mr. Zur. Thank you very much for all the hard work on that and all the research that you did. Moving that ball, I didn't know it was going to be that difficult, but it absolutely needed a professional team to ensure that we got it to the finish line, and we did. And thank you very much for that. And that's all I have this evening. Do we have reason to go into executive session?
No, sir.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Abdelgawad,
I move that we adjourn tonight's meeting.
thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, sir.
Motion's been made and seconded for adjournment. Could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Mills?
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you.